Welcome to the Change Energizer Hot Seat podcast. This is a place where leaders are dropped into the hot seat to open up about high-stake wins and reveal the trust X factor behind their triumphs. I'm your host, Scott Carley, the Trust Energizer, and I believe the confidence people have in the way you show up, your character and expertise is the real game changer. When trust is high, teams don't just perform, they pull off legendary Super Bowl wins. Today's guest is Heather Emerson from Creative Offshore VA Staffing. You call Heather when you're feeling the squeeze of doing admin tasks instead of income-producing activities. So welcome to the show. We're so glad to have everybody here. Heather, thank you for coming. Tell the audience what you do and who you serve.
Hey Scott, so good to be here. I have a company called Offshore Launch. We staff out of the Philippines for U.S. businesses. Every role we staff is obviously virtual. They are staying in the Philippines, working for the U.S. business. And all of our businesses are service-based businesses. And all of the roles that we hire for, they're admin is our bread and butter, so back office admin, but we also staff a lot of customer facing roles and even some technical roles, and it's really geo arbitrage.
Now, what does that mean? Boy, I love being around you. You throw out these phrases, and now we go to Google and find out what you just said. What does all that mean?
Well, I love this word because I don't like people thinking about Philippines hires as cheap labor. First of all, some of them are more educated than me. I mean, we have people who are full-on attorneys in the Philippines. They just make more money being a virtual paralegal for a law firm here than they would being an attorney in the Philippines.
Right.
So it's not cheap labor. You're just taking advantage of the fact that you were born in a different country, right? They were born in that country. We're born in this country. We can pay them well, and it's still inexpensive for you. So that's great, right? So that's the geo arbitrage. By the way, disclaimer, there are a lot of virtual assistant agencies like that, my industry that absolutely have the $4 an hour people, and that's just not what we do. We're hiring really real professionals for these businesses, for them to scale, for founders to scale beyond themselves.
Yeah, that's good, and we're going to be asking you questions about that, so that you can showcase why you're trustworthy and the credibility and integrity that you have. And I love that word. You keep using that; it makes all of us stop and think. So. That was good. And you've been in sales for a while, is that right? I mean, you have a history of sales, isn't that right?
I do have a history of sales. I am not a good salesperson. My numbers say otherwise. So my background is fashion. So my job, I was to dress the 1%. That's who I worked with, was the 1%. I worked in New York, and I would I dressed socialites and celebrities for red carpet events, and it was really glamorous and it was really fun. And I sold millions of dollars of clothing, and I made commission on that. So that was a sales role.
Okay, so I'm confused here. You're doing so well, but you say, "Oh, I'm a terrible salesperson," but your numbers say something else. So where do you come up with this business that you're not a good salesperson?
Well, I didn't know I was a bad salesperson until my husband, who works with me now, tried to processitize my sales. And he's like, "You are all over the map. You ask different questions every time. I have no way to track your data, and you're not selling them on the value prop." And I'm like, "No, because that's not how I work. That's not how I work. I like to get to know people, and I want people to know that I have their back." And so all of my quote unquote sales were actually just relationships that enjoyed working with me, enjoyed trusting me, and they could rely on me. And so, and it's a lot of intuition. And again, that's not really scalable. So we are right now in our business, just past the 2 million run rate, this week. Woohoo. And we're entering a new era in the business. And so just like I have to teach other businesses to scale beyond themselves, I'm in that same place. So I'm feeling the pressure to get whatever's in my head on paper and documented so that
Good.
we can be more successful.
Good. I 100% agree with that. We do business it's an old saying, it's a new saying. We do business with people we know, like, and trust. And you really lean into know and like, which builds trust. And so you spend a lot of time, and you're not whatever that word you used that your husband uses, because you like to build relationships, and you have a gut feeling about some of those things. But a while back, you got introduced to the trust credit score. And I remember the look on your face when you started reading through that. And, we were standing there and you were just going, oh my God. And it began to maybe reveal some natural systemizations that you have and put words to it. Am I going in the right direction?
Oh yeah. It's not, trust is not just a feeling. I always thought it was a feeling. It is a feeling. It's absolutely a feeling.
Yeah.
But it's a pattern too. And it's a pattern of actions. And I love the trust credit score because it made me, I'm actually using it to internally now. Like if someone's under my skin, I can go to the trust credit score and I can say, why? I can point to why. I can say, I'm not seeing any receipts, right? There's frequent failures, there's incomplete projects, there's these series of actions that I can point to, and it just takes the emotion out of it in a way so that it can be addressed and either fixed or you part ways. So I just love it for, I don't know, I just love it. I'm obsessed with it. I think you have, it's incredible. I'm so glad it exists, and I'm so glad that you made it exist.
Yeah, well, you're more than welcome. I've discovered that finding a way to articulate how we feel can make a huge difference in us being able to process it and then communicate with it and go forward. And that's what the Trust Credit Score was designed to do and process. And, you still have the emotion, but now you know why the emotions are there and what to do with them. So before we get too involved in that, I've got 8 questions. I put you in the hot seat. I love what you do. And I think that, what I wrote down here that, I think you can tell me that I'm accurate in this. You call Heather when you're feeling the squeeze of doing admin tasks instead of income producing activities. And that's when you need to bring in somebody who's very capable, very skilled, who can take those things off of your plate so that you can focus on what you're really gifted to. Is that correct?
That is spot on. And I'll just say for everybody out there who thinks they already have that person, their office manager probably needs a person. Their office manager is probably underwater. We staff a lot of people to support the office manager. So
come on. I'm glad I heard that.
Yeah. Yeah. So I just want to say the founder might be like free and clear because the office manager's taking all the heat, but are you taking care of your office manager?
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, audience, this is a sign. Audience, pay attention to what you just heard. This is a sign. Maybe you don't need the admin, but your office manager needs the admin. So yeah, don't hesitate to pop up. Well, I do want to ask you a few questions. because I want to give you a way to really showcase why you're so awesome and why you're so effective in what you do. So, among the questions, this would be a good place for us to start. How do you vet and match a virtual assistant who align with a person's work schedule and their business model? I mean, are you just going to send someone generic, or do you custom fit who understands their industry and their systems? Tell me how that works.
Yeah. So there's a lot of misconceptions around this. They think there's just like a call center of warm bodies that they can plug into a business. And that works.
A vending machine.
Yeah, and that work like some things I'm not talking negatively about anybody else's business. That absolutely works for some. But what we do at Offshore Launch is we're headhunting. We're headhunting humans who are intentionally built for a specific business they are entering. We want deep industry knowledge. We're going to have a therapy session. It's a discovery call, but we should really call it a therapy session. And it forces clarity around the system, the tools, their working style, and the outcomes that they're buying back for themselves. That's what you're doing. You're buying back your time. You're buying back your team's time when you hire Offshore Launch. So after we do that, we run a full recruitment cycle: sourcing, skill testing, interview panels, mock projects, values screening, and all sorts of background and reference checks. And I'll just say, I have not met another agency that does the background checks that we do. We do reference.
That's awesome.
We do not just criminal, we do civil. We know if they're in a lawsuit.
Oh, wow.
Yes. We know if they've ever been globally sanctioned, because some things can be covered up, right? We uncover all that. We even do a social media investigation that's AI driven. So like they can't get around it. It's it's attached to their IP address. And we know if they're being a troll on the internet. Like we know all of that. So, and we spend hundreds of dollars on that screening because it's not about disqualifying somebody because of their past. I don't believe in that. It's about transparency. That's it. You're never going to meet this human unless you go to the Philippines, right?
Yeah, somebody told me one time, we work very hard in our company to, make sure that our company has core values. And then my next question is, so have you taught your teams, your leaders, those core values? Oh, yeah, we've taught them. Can they recite them to you? I'm not sure that they can recite them to me.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, well, if they can't recite them to you, if you go to Trader Joe's and you ask somebody behind that big desk, what are the core values of Trader Joe's? Those managers will recite the 7 core values of Trader Joe's. So now you have a leadership team that represents those. And what I'm hearing from you is that you are taking a real hard look at that, so that you know something about their core values automatically. And then as they come into this company, whatever they're going to be a BA for, those core values can be, brought into them too. So yeah, I like that. I like that you do so much checking and you're getting the right person, not just a vending machine. So that brings me to something else I want to say. So on the other thing, when you bring these people in and you're looking for them, how do I know that they're going to have really the skill set that I need them to have, and they're going to have the right attitude, and they're going to treat my business like it matters? You've covered a little bit of that, but tell me more.
Yeah. I mean, whoever we hire, especially, so 57% of our business is contractors. So think tools, belts, and hard hats, like anything in that industry: HVAC, plumbing, construction, architecture. Like 57% of our business is that. And we hire a lot of virtual operators. That's the role. I mean, there's a there's a company called Pink's Windows. I don't know if you've heard of Pink's Windows. They had a huge marketing campaign of these highly attractive men cleaning windows. They have a famous owner. Anyways, it's Cody Sanchez. She's kind of famous on the internet. She has a portfolio called Resi Brands. And then, anyways, they acquired Pink's Windows. Anyway, one of the franchise owners is our client, and this franchise owner is a social butterfly. I mean, she's probably like you and me, right? She can build trust. She's relationship oriented. She's networking. But all the other stuff is getting done poorly, or she's going to pull her hair out. All the other stuff is like dispatch, customer communication, invoicing, virtual project management is essentially what it is. Like taking it from lead to, is the job executed and paid for?
Yeah.
So with that role, you have to have a business owner mentality for that role. So when you ask the question, like, how do you ensure that the VA has the right attitude and will treat my business like it matters? I mean, that's their whole job, is to be the operator of the business. So you would know really quickly if that person is not doing that. And we would know that. We would know really quickly in our interview process if that's their mindset. We do a really fantastic interviewing. You know what interviewing is? It's sales.
Yeah.
When you're interviewing, you want that person across from you to want it so bad. And so our interview process is very much like get the guard down and get to know the heart of the person. And that's how we operate our business too. We are people engagement, people first company. So they want to work for us. So we really get to.
I wish maybe I'm speaking wrong, but I wish more recruiters had, it seems like the kind of mindset that you have. And what I'm hearing from you is you have a higher level of that because you feel a need to maybe overcompensate because these are people in the Philippines, and we don't know them, we can't see them. I mean, we see them eventually, but you're taking it to a higher standard because you're trying to vet and raise the trust credit score. And I don't want to say it's a disadvantage, but it's just a different place or another country. So I like the extra mile that I hear that you're going to make sure that these people are a right fit. I think that's cool.
Yeah, there's three things three things we're looking for. We want them to, I close the loop, I take initiative, I follow through.
Oh, that's good.
Like I close the loop, I take initiative, I follow through.
Audience, did you write that down? Yes, I love that. That's good. Okay, well, tell me about red flags, early warning signs in the screening process that, they can't do those three things, or some red flags or yellow flags start showing up. Tell me about that. What do you do?
Yeah. They're called Easter eggs. You know how you're hunting for Easter eggs?
Yeah.
You can do that in the interview process. So for instance, in the job posting, you can have like a secret message hidden between a lot of small print, fine print that says, email me a photo of you, doing that. And it's that, what are we checking for? We're checking for detail. Are they detail oriented? Right. The interview's at 2 p.m., but when are they in that waiting room? Are they in the waiting room at 2 p.m. or are they in the waiting room at 1:50? So we do Easter eggs. We give them opportunity. And at the very end of every interview, we tell them like, okay, I want you to send me an email within 24 hours telling me why you think you're a good fit for this job. Some people don't even send the email. It's an interview. And so like we do a really good job. I will say our recruiting and headhunting is really, really high level. But Scott, we're not perfect. I also have to say that. We have made mistakes. We have placed people and it was wrong.
So what do you do when that happens? Tell me what do you do?
Oh my gosh. Well, we tell every client Everybody should know this. If you hire somebody and there are yellow flags in the first 30 days, those are not yellow flags. Those are red flags. Y'all are still dating. Y'all are still in the honeymoon stage. And if it's not honeymoon, it's okay. It's just not, it doesn't mean they're bad. It doesn't mean you're bad. It's just not the right fit. So, that's why we're here. We have a lifetime replacement for any of our roles. So we have several things in place to make sure to minimize the struggle of that and the stress that puts on the client. Most of the time we can find their replacement and the person in their place can actually train them. And that's no extra expense to the client, even though they have two people doing a transition. We have a whole process in place to do a transfer of power. But if it's a really egregious thing, they don't get to train the next person. They gotta go, right? But that's what we're here for. We are a plug-in HR for the lifetime value of our client.
Yeah, I think that's great. And I was going to ask you about the first 30 days. What should I expect in the first 30 days with a VA? And part of what I've heard is you have a testing process. Well, that's not the right way to say it, but a trial. And if it doesn't, if we see this is not working out, there's something about there's a chemistry conflict, or there's some other skill set or whatever it is, that if we see those yellow flags, we can speak up and we don't have to feel bad about speaking up. Is that what I've heard?
Not at all. We want you to win. We want you to win hard. So if that's not what's going on, we want to know about it. And that's why we're here. So, but you asked the question, what should somebody expect in the first 30 days? Well, we set up KPIs. In our therapy session, we do an initial therapy session. Then after you get onboarded, we do a deeper dive, and we're going to set KPIs for the first 90 days. So the expectation for the first 30 days is going to be very clear, not just for us, but for the person we're hiring, because they need to know what the expectation, right?
What's expected of me? Where am I going to be measured? Yeah.
1,000%. I will say that when you hire somebody, it often feels like more work before it feels like less work.
Oh, of course.
So, it's not, oh my God, immediately. It's, oh my God. It's not, oh my God, my life's so great immediately. It's, oh my God, I have to get all this. I have to teach them how I want it done. And, oh, I got to tweak that. That's not right. And it's hard. It's hard to delegate. It's hard to be patient with that process and believe that there's relief on the other side of that. But it is possible. And I actually 30 days in is the first, I say, break where you're like, oh, I don't have to do that anymore. Oh, that's already done. And then, you're still doing more training, right? You're not going to learn just 30 days, but you're starting to see it. They're
moving in the right direction.
Yeah.
They're catching on. They're either getting traction or they're not getting traction. There's a old book called The 1 Minute Manager. And in it, the 1 Minute Manager tells his philosophy. And he said, for the first 6 weeks, I'm right there beside you. I'm looking over your shoulder. I'm giving you instructions. I'm mentoring you. I'm showing exactly how we want it done. Doesn't matter where you came from. This is the way we like to do it. And for 6 weeks, you got any questions, ask me questions, a lot of back and forth, anything, 6 weeks. But at the end of 6 weeks, you're on your own, and not on your own completely. But at that point, you should be flying. You should be doing your thing. And then if they come back to the 1 Minute Manager, they said, well, I've got a problem. And I love what he says. I love it in the book. He says, okay, well, I hired you to solve problems. So what answer are you bringing to the table? So anyway, I love what you're saying about that, whether it's 30 days, I love the KPIs, or 90 days. That's just the transition merging process. So tell me a story about a client whose life and business, one of your clients whose life and business were radically improved because they got the right assistant.
Oh, I got a good one. And it was actually this is an older story. It was our second client. Our second client ever was a roofing company. Remember contractors, hard
Yeah.
hats and tool belts. So
Yeah.
that's how we got into the space, because the second person who came to me and said, I need a VA, was a roofer. And I was brand new. And I said, sure. No idea. No idea what I was doing, but I was like, I'm going to work hard for you. And that was literally just me. It wasn't my husband. Nobody else worked here. It was just me. So, and he had the lowest budget. He had the most budget of budget. I don't even want to say it because we don't even do it for that amount anymore. So I was like, okay, let's do it. So I went to work and I found a guy who had 5 years experience working in roofing already. He already had 5 years. And I said, and he was just back office, no client facing work. He was going to do spreadsheets. He was going to track leads. He was going to update their CRM. He was going to do project management, make sure jobs were moving. He was
Wow, that's a lot.
He was going to coordinate with the sales team. This roofing had salespeople under him. He needed people. His guys were on roofs all day, and then they were going home and doing this work on their computer. And he's like, this is dangerous. They're working 15 hours and they're tired the next day and they can't go on a roof like that. That's not healthy. So anyway, so we hired this guy, 5 years of roofing experience. And I'll tell you, he's shy. He's a shy guy. So he didn't really interview well. So I had to tell him, I was like, I think this is your guy. I presented 2 candidates. And there was one that was really a great communicator. She didn't even have an accent. She sounded like a full-on American. And then she was great with people. And then there was this guy who was shy. He had a thicker accent, but he had 5 years of roofing experience. I was like, I genuinely think this is your guy. So he says, okay. So he hires him. He calls me a month later and says, Heather. And I was scared. I thought he was going to say, something bad. He was like, Heather, I need to give this guy a raise. Because he knew he was paying really low. And I was like, okay. He's like, he's so good. He's so good. I don't want him to leave. I want him to be here forever. Give him a raise. So we raised his invoice. We raised this guy's pay. And I was like, okay, this is great. Let's keep going. So 2 months later, the storm in Central Texas hit. And all those homes in Temple Belton were, annihilated. It was heartbreaking. And he had this VA to support his sales team. And he became the #1 roofing sales team in a $50 million roofing company.
Wow.
$12 million in roofs. This VA supported all $12 million, wrote all the SOPs so good that all of the admins that were the rest of the roofing company had hired here in the US, this little guy in the Philippines they adopted his SOPs for a $50 million roofing company. Yes.
Wow.
And he's still with us today. And that was my moment as a business owner. It made me realize that I could change people's lives through what I do.
Yeah. Wow. That is a fantastic story. I love that. I love a lot of things about it. But here's one thing that I also love about it. And that roofer doesn't have to worry about that admin hanging up his own shingle and starting his own business, because he's not in America. He's in the Philippines, though he knows all the ins and outs and all of that. Has that thought ever crossed your mind?
That's a really good point, that there's always that risk when you have a key man in your business.
It happens all the time. I mean, it happens all the time when somebody comes in and they're an apprentice and the master, and they get to really doing good, and then they say, man, I could just do this and think of all the money I would make. I own my own business. But you're talking what I'm hearing you say that these are people that are buying into the company as far as with their attitude and their motives and all of that. But they got zero interest in starting their own business because they're in the Philippines and they're doing what they want to do.
Yeah.
I think that's a big deal. I, I'm just saying.
Yeah. I think especially you you have obviously seen that a lot. So that wasn't even on my radar, to be honest. But with the work you do and how you integrate teams and work with business owners,
All the time.
yeah, I could see that being, yeah, I'm glad you said it.
How do you help me know what to delegate and what to keep on my own plate?
Yes, this is very simple. It is an activity. Everybody needs to do this activity. You don't have to hire me. You don't have to hire anybody else, but this is self-awareness. Okay. So I do an activity, I do some speaking engagements, and I'll do some workshops, and I do this activity, and everybody loves it. First of all, I do a personality assessment, which is they always love that. But we also do an activity trying to figure out what lights you up. Not what you're good at, not what people praise you for. What is something that you do that you could do day in and day out? Never look at the clock. You look up and you've been doing it for 10 hours and it energizes your heart and your soul. And so if you do that, you write that down, then you do another activity and you write down what drains you. And you probably know that because that's what you're procrastinating. Those are all those emails in your inbox that you're flagging and going back to later or never going to. So you get really clear. There's four zones: your zone of genius, zone of excellence, zone of competence, zone of incompetence. Zone of genius is where you want to stay. Zone of excellence is probably how you've made money a lot of your career and you're confused. You think that's your zone of genius because you know how to make money doing it and you're good at it, but it's really just your zone of excellence. Then you got your zone of competence, which is like, I can do it, but like, barely. And then there's zone of incompetence. The bottom two, 100% delegate.
Yeah.
And you want to creep into eventually getting out of your zone of excellence as well. That's the hardest one to let go of. But if you stay in your zone of genius and all of your team is in their zone of genius, you're not getting 40 hours out of them. You're getting 80. You're getting 160 because they're good at it. It gives them more energy. There's no breaks. They can't get enough. You are exponentially amplifying the output of yourself and your team.
Yeah, I love that. And I believe that 300%. I use a personality profile that kind of rides in that same way. When you are operating in where you're gifted, then it's no sweat. I mean, it's why you were born and it comes natural to you. And there's you may have read this book. You probably have, The E-Myth. And the E-Myth was written a few years ago, and it's about entrepreneurs. Are you familiar with the book?
1,000%.
Okay, and maybe you remember the story because when I was hearing some of this, the story about the guy or the gal, lady, somebody, a person who wanted to be a baker. Oh, I love baking cakes, and I make the most beautiful cakes, and oh, they're wedding cakes and birthday cakes and celebration cakes. Oh, I love making cakes. And so they said, I'm going to go into business. I'm going to quit the bakery. I'm going to bake my own cakes. And so they, baking cakes, what they love to do. But then they have to do sales. So they have to sell the cakes they bake. And then they have to, do the buying all the goods. So somebody's go to the store and buy all the stuff to get that. And then somebody's got to do the book work. And before very long, this person's not making cakes. They're doing all those other things. And and so now they're in a business they hate because they're not getting to do what they really love to do. And what I just heard you say was you give people a way to stay in the business doing the things they love to do. And you provide a high quality VA to do all that other stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. That's it.
Yeah.
And the thing about E-Myth is if you, I like that book because he talks about the baker sitting on the floor, defeated, and he has to tell her that she's not being a business owner. She just has a job, but it's the worst kind of job because
Yeah.
she can't call in if there's a client, if she's sick, if there's a client issue, she can't escalate it. And if she needs to take off, she doesn't get paid. So if you just love baking, go get a baking job is
Go
like,
get a baking job. That's right.
then you get all that other stuff you want. So, yeah, the E-Myth, it's called, oh gosh, there are categories for it, but yes, there's some things similarly to what I was just talking about with Zone of Genius. There's
Yeah. It's not
three
it's not
levels.
a stamp. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So, one of the things that comes up, that I'm thinking of is how do I make sure that this VA is trustworthy with sensitive client information, passwords, calendars, uh, being able to make payments. Uh, how are you going to help me to feel okay with all of that? So, what do you do?
Yeah. Well, there's so many ways to answer this question. I need to know if that is because you just want to be in control or if you really are you just need to know that that's somebody you can trust, right? Some people will say, you know, it's because I read all these stories and all that, but really the truth is they don't want to give up control. They don't want to
Control.
delegate. So, you know, we got to try to figure that part out.
Okay,
Uh,
let's stop. Let's do a timeout right there about that topic. If you are a control freak, you're going to struggle to be able to scale a business. You may have one store and one little thing, and God bless you, and you touch everything, and it can't operate without you. You will never scale. You'll never have but one location and not a very big organization. Letting go of that, and that's a maturity, and so you help with that, don't you?
Absolutely. Our egos love to feel needed. And so, and that's, and our egos love, and we love the illusion of safety. And so if both of those things are true, then the perfect angel VA that can do all the things is never going to work for you. So yes, there's some self-awareness, there's some self-work, might be an existential crisis. Like there's a lot of things that you have to break through. And that's why I love entrepreneurship is it's the ultimate form of self-improvement and self-awareness and self-growth. And your business will only grow as much as you do as a human. So we constantly have to be challenging our belief systems. And that's really hard because our belief systems are so ingrained in us. But they're probably wrong. They probably worked in the past. They're probably not going to work in the future. And that's how we grow, right? So how do I ensure that the VA is trustworthy with sensitive information? I mean, I feel like there's a lot of answers for this. You know, there's the defense, which is the background checks and the screen monitoring and the one-click lockout and the plug-in with your IT team and all of these things we can do. But there's also offense, which is you got to lean into people. You got to make them feel valued because they are building your dream. People who
Yeah.
work for you are building your dream,
Yeah.
right? And so pour into them. And those
Partner with
people,
them. Partner with them. When
yeah,
people feel like they're a partner in, in sharing your dreams and you being conscious of whatever dreams they have, Yeah, that makes such a big deal. Big deal.
I do want to address something. I feel like there's two elephants in the room with offshore.
Oh, okay.
One is like, do they speak English? The English? Are they going to have an accent? Like everybody wants to know about that. The other one is, are they going to steal all my data? Like those are the issues. Those are the big trust hurdles that I uh, uh, come upon time and time again. It's very regular because we have
I'm glad you brought those up. That's good. So, you know, what do you do with that?
okay. So we everybody we hire is absolutely fluent in English, and depending on their role, their back office or client facing, we'll screen for more or less accent and also your preference in general. And the less concerned about accent you are, the bigger the candidate pool. But it's true, we hire people who have no accent. They sound totally American. So that's that. We can tie that up in a bow. That's no issue. The other trust issue about stealing all my data, that is not as straightforward. First, the most obvious answer is anybody can steal your data. They don't have to be in the Philippines to do that. You can hire them right here in Austin and they steal all your IP, but there's a few things. We have a registered entity in the Philippines. It's under my name. That's why I'm going on Sunday. I have to sign.
Yeah, I was just fixing to say, when since we've known each other, I remember you said either you were on your way to the Philippines or you go over there on some kind of regular basis. So you walk in, and so you have a presence there, and so you can find the people that are on your staff. Um, and there's something else that you said that it just um, I never thought of it. And you said, so people, if I got a VA in the Philippines, that means I'm going to have to wait a day or so before I get my stuff back. And you said, oh no, they are awake. They are on the job during U.S. hours. And so I mean, you call them, they answer because that's their job is to be on U.S. hours, not Philippines time. Tell me about that. I've never heard of that before. Maybe I'm just green at this, but that's so cool. Tell me about that.
Yeah, they work graveyard shift. Their time is graveyard. It's a lifestyle. It's almost a badge of honor in the Philippines. It's like, yeah, I work graveyard. Like, yeah, I make money, because they do. They make better money working for US business. And so it's a lifestyle. You have to be accustomed to it. We don't hire anybody who's not accustomed to that lifestyle. They have to have worked US hours. They have to like it. They have to make sure it's not going to make them ill over time because circadian rhythm can be detrimental to people. So like, that's really important that they are used to it and they have family support and it works for the lifestyle. And so we're screening for all of that. Because I don't believe in oh yeah, email communication, 24-hour delay. You need to treat them just like you would a virtual hire in the US.
Yeah, you couldn't run a roofing business like that.
Yeah, no. So that's imperative. And I think we were talking about security. I want to close that loop because I think it's really important.
Okay.
But our cybersecurity team, they get a VPN, they get all of that. Like I said, our cybersecurity team used to work for enterprise companies. So they're based here in the US and they manage all of that. And so I really want to emphasize that it's important to us. And that's the best way. Prevention is the best way. But should something go wrong, we have an entity there and we have full legal recourse if anything does go wrong. So if you hire an agency, you need to ask them, are they just a shell employer of record, EOR? Or are they like active? Do they have relationships with attorneys? And they call it the SEC, which is like the IRS here. You pay taxes. The Philippines government is very strict. Very strict. The Philippines government was issued a shoot to kill order when you didn't quarantine during COVID. So,
Wow.
yes. So it is imperative that whatever agency you work for has a registered business in the Philippines and a legal team in the Philippines. And we do. So I just want to close that loop, that like prevention is the best, and we do all the things that we possibly can. We're working on SOC 2 compliance. We don't have it yet, but that's the pie in the sky. And also there are consequences should anything happen. Nothing's ever happened like that. Knock on wood. Knock on wood, Scott.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, that one.
Yeah. I'm learning so much today, and your trust credit score with me is just going up, 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 checking the box, checking the box, checking the box. And that's exactly why I do this podcast. And it's why I created the trust credit scores, because these are the things that we can't just feel, a gut feeling. I need some validation in several areas about why this is a good thing, because people tell the bad stories. And if you don't, if that's all you ever hear, then boy, you're going to be in trouble. But today you have brought just some rock solid stuff, and I love it. I've listened to you, and I know you have a team, a screening specialist, an onboarding coach, a workflow consultant, cybersecurity partners, VA success manager. You've got people doing all these things, KPIs, so that you know what's going on. So is there anything else that, before we wrap it up, is there anything else that you want to share with the audience about what you do and how much you love it, or how you can help them?
Yeah, I just want to say that if you are in the market and you're interviewing agencies, I think it's important to find out what's it like after that contract is signed. What's the involvement? So with us, first and foremost, we don't make you ever sign a long contract. We want to earn your dollar every month. So it's a month-to-month contract.
Wow.
Yep. And I'm very proud of that, because energetically, don't you hate that subscription that you can't cancel? It builds resentment. It's not something you can grow with. And I understand why big corporations have it in place. They need to do their projections or whatever, but we're a people organization. So we want to make sure that it works. We want to give you, it's like having a prenup. No one wants to talk about the end. But we're like, no, here's the end. You just give 30-day notice. And hopefully we work so hard for you, never want to do that. So I just want to say that. And we have a system, and we're talking about trust. And I think a lot of people are like, well, what are they doing all day? So we have a automated system, end of day reports that our launchers submit every day. So the client gets an end of day report every single day for their launcher. And I think both of those two things are important since we're talking about trust. So you can trust us to earn your dollar every month, and you can trust that you have transparency into what the work that your launcher is doing. And so when you're looking for a virtual staffing partner, ask what they have in place for those things. And let me know if they have a better system, because I want to beat them.
I love that. I think that's so cool. Well, I love everything that I've heard today. And I think it's so great that you have taken the mystique out of having a VA and what they can do for people. And, as a business person, just like we were talking about earlier, if you're doing everything, then you've locked yourself down. But if you've got a team and people that you can turn things over to, so that you can focus on where you're gifted and what you can do to grow the company, then having a vetted trusted VA is just just a very, very smart move. So when I'm talking to people, maybe I should start asking them, let's talk about your next hire. What should your next hire be? Because what I'm hearing from you, Heather, is that you bring in some really high quality people who bring skill set who could make a huge difference for a company. So way to go.
Thank you, Scott. I'm so happy to be here, and I'm so glad we reconnected. And thanks for having me on your podcast.
Yeah, well, thank you very much for coming. And if you're out there and you are thinking about you're feeling the squeeze and you're having to do stuff that you could delegate to somebody else, then reach out to Heather. Heather, do you want to share how can we get in touch with you?
Yeah, just shoot me an email, heather@offshorelaunch.com, or go to offshorelaunch.com.
So reach out to her and just listen. You've heard a lot today. So I want to thank everybody for tuning in today. Thank you for coming and being with us. You may want to be in the hot seat. And if you are ready to let your business come and sit in the hot seat, and let me ask you the questions, can I trust you? Then give me a call. Send me an email, scott@scottcarley.com. And let's do an interview and see if this is a right fit for you. But also, if your company would like for me to come in and put somebody on your team in the hot seat, and let's introduce the trust credit score and the huge difference it can make in the way you communicate and the way that you vet trust internally with the team and externally with clients, then give me a call. So Scott Carley, the Trust Energizer, and thank you so much, Heather, for being with us. Have a great day.